Hello, friends. This is your podcast on the chapter P in your textbook, which you see right here. Practice Statistics. This is the third edition. There's a fourth edition coming out, and I was hoping you'd be able to get this cheap online, but I haven't seen real cheap prices on it. Maybe the fourth edition won't come out till next year. Anyway, point of these podcasts is to have me talk through the concepts that you need to learn in this chapter. What I'm trying to accomplish here is this chapter P gives you a broad framework. It gives you the broad strokes of the entire course. There's four sections. And here's sort of a Venn diagram to give you how it all comes together. We're going to start the year with data analysis, basically looking at sets of numbers or two sets of numbers and doing things like the mean, median, mode. A lot of this will be review for you. Just looking at how we work with a list of numbers, a data. And data, you should know right from the beginning, that's just a list of numbers with significance, with meaning, like a list of shoe sizes, a list of incomes, a list of heights, weights, anything like that. That's data. Second part of the course is experimental design. Learn the difference between an experiment and an observational study and everything that's involved in collecting usable data. The third part of the course is probability. This is mathy, the rules of probability, what we expect to happen by random chance. And that gives us something to compare to what actually happened. And that whole study is inference. And notice I have inference sort of at the intersection of the other three. All these other three sections lead to inference. All right. And inference is simply, as you would guess, inferring. All right, we got this data. What does this data tell us? Does it tell us one fertilizer is better than another fertilizer? Or does it tell us, um, one student is a better student than another? How can we use data to actually make decisions and arrive at conclusions about some situation? So back to this list of goals. These things right here, these bullet points, this is what I want you to know out of this first chapter. All right, chapter P. And I'm going to give you a test. So these podcasts, I'm going to go through what you need to know, but it's not a substitute for reading the chapter, and it certainly isn't a substitute for doing those problems that are assigned at the end. I'll go through a couple of those problems, but the test you have on the second class of the year will be similar to the problems that are assigned at the end of Chapter P. And for you to go through and practice and make sure you understand these terms, I'm going to go through right now, and can actually apply them to the situations that are brought up in the problems. That's that's where the rubber hits the road. That's what you have to be able to do. So let's get started. Give definition of statistics and describe what statistics helps us do. All right. I got it written out right here, but it's an art and a science. Um, good statisticians will be right about 95% of the time. You're not always going to be right. It's not like arithmetic where 2 plus 2 is always 4. You are trying to arrive at conclusions, and you're going to be collecting limited data. And everything in the world is interconnected. There are other things that we can't anticipate, but we can be pretty close a lot of the time, and that's what we're going for. So it's an art, it's also a science. Um, we're collecting, organizing, analyzing. We're working with data, and data is a plural, so you collect data that's more than one data. Anecdotal evidence. Anecdotal evidence, that's just stories. And um, if you had someone who had been in or lost a close friend in a plane crash, their interpretation of how safe it is to fly a plane would be very different than someone who had flown in a plane hundreds or thousands of times in their lives and never had a serious problem. So you can't get good information based on one or two people's story. You have to actually collect data like how many flights flew, how many plane crashes were there, how many people died, things like that. Turns out if you flew in a commercial airplane every day of your life, you would be in a plane crash about once every 19,000 years. And the other thing you wouldn't expect is about 5 out of every 6 people that are actually in a plane crash live. But what you see on TV is a crash burning plane, once every couple of years, and people just get the impression that it's not as safe. It's actually much safer than car travel. I'll pick up with this in the next podcast.